Hello and welcome to 4000 and Counting, brought to you by Hurricane E-Bikes. I am Watty, and today I am joined by Solway Sharks new man, John Dunbar. John, first of all, happy birthday. Thank you very much for taking time out of your birthday schedule to fit 4000 and counting in.
Thanks, Nick. You appreciate it. Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Excited to be joining.
Oh, I'm glad we finally got you. We've had everybody else up there. I mean, no more than the media whore that is the gaffer, John Strange. He's on a worldwide publicity tour for the Sharks right now, and you got to give the man his due. He's getting it done, and everyone's buzzing about the Sharks. Even people from down this way that are nowhere near Solway. So for you, how exciting is it to be like part of this new venture there in Dumfries?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's been pretty incredible. It's like you say, there's a lot of buzz going on right now, a lot of hype. Just obviously joining the NHL and new ownership taking over. No, it's been a lot of fun. We're definitely excited to get going. They're doing some pretty special things. John, David, and Phil, they're amazing at what they're doing, and it's been a lot of fun working with Peacock as well.
Peaks is a beaut.
Yeah, he's amazing. It's a really good environment. The three owners, and then yeah, like I say, Peacock, he's awesome. We're kind of all new to this, so it's good to bounce ideas off of one another, and we're learning as we go. But it's exciting times, no doubt.
Obviously they've brought you in to put the puck in the net, but there's more than meets the eye because you have a role away from the rink as well, if I'm correct. So you're not purely just going to be there to snipe. They've got you. Are you doing some like commercial stuff, or what is it you're doing with them as a club?
Yeah, so technically, I suppose it's the role I'm under is hockey operations. You know, as of right now, it kind of covers a wide variety of different things. Like I say, we're early doors right now, just getting stuff organized, getting prepped here in the final hours to start the season. So there's a lot of different things that myself and Peaks and all the owners are doing. But I went to uni for marketing, so I have a bit of a business background. So I think, as time progresses and as we get a little bit more established, I'll kind of slide into more of that role as we go along. But yeah, like you say, hopefully continue that role of putting the puck in the net as well. I'm buzzing to get on the ice and get the season started and do the fun bit.
Yeah, the bit we enjoy,
Yeah, exactly.
the
That's
skating
it.
around and wheeling around with your friends. So
Yeah.
let's talk a bit of the on ice stuff because in a little while we're going to go back and we're going to talk through the start of your career, but I want to keep it pretty current.
hmm
Obviously, you can still do a job in the elite league. There's no doubt about that. No one's doubting your talent. You've proven it over 3, 4 years in Guildford, and then another year up with the clan. Why make the decision now at 32 to take that step down? Is it so that you can focus more on building a career outside of hockey, or did you feel the time was right maybe now?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both. It was, at first it was kind of a tough decision. Like you say, I still believe that I can be effective in the elite league, and that was my plan. Last year, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. It was, there was some turbulence in that season with Glasgow.
Yeah, just a wee
We
bit.
had a little,
Just a
yeah,
wee bit. Oof.
yeah, a little bit of adversity. It was a long year. It was a very trying season. At the end of the year, I was kind of debating what I wanted to do. I looked, uh, I looked elsewhere in the elite league for a little bit, and it's tough. I think, although I'm just 32, it seems young. As you would know, in the sports world, you kind of live in dog years, and
Yep.
you get over 30, you start thinking about life afterwards. Your body kind of takes a little bit of a beating and some abuse. So it was kind of in the back of my head, like what am I going to do? Life after hockey. And, credit to my wife. She's been, such an amazing support system for me. And we've kind of bounced around the world since COVID. We played in Germany. She followed me there. And then we were in Guildford and then Glasgow. And I kind of had those thoughts in my head, like, how much longer do I want to keep putting her through this and
Yep.
myself as well, just packing up and leaving, going somewhere else every year. So, at the when Peacock originally jumped on board with the Sharks, he had kind of jokingly put it in my ear, "Oh, you should join," yada yada yada. And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I kind of still feel like I got some juice left in the hips to keep going in the elite
Yeah.
league." But then as the summer progressed, I started thinking about it. Talking with my partner. started thinking about it a little more seriously. And then when John Strange kind of came to me with this idea of, working in a different role, and it could be something he had known about my marketing background. This could be something that you could progress, start thinking about life after hockey, look at your career more so long term. It just seemed like a no-brainer. And what better people to join with? I can't really, thank and give enough credit to those three owners. And then me and Peacock have a pretty good relationship. So it just seemed to work out perfectly.
And I know that, well, you probably know them now, but I've known the boys for years. Sorry, Grubby and Tomo, the coaching staff there, biggest pair of fucking beauties going. Like, great guys, love the club, know their hockey. They know hockey very well. Grubby's a great coach and done great stuff with the juniors within GB and across the country. We've seen players that have played for him come on and progress and move on and go up in levels. So the whole nucleus, what they have there from top to bottom, from you guys in the back room to the owners to the coaches, it's really exciting. And it's very exciting to see. I don't know how much you're into the media now, but obviously if you're doing marketing, I guess you're going to be into it a little bit. It's exciting to see them just come in and smash it out the park on every player release was fantastic. They're engaging, they're fun. How cool is it to be a part of like that side of it? Now you're not just coming to the rink to think about putting the puck in the net. You've now got to think, how are we going to grab these guys? How am I going to use my marketing skills?
Yeah, no, that's it. You hit the nail on the head. It's really cool to see, just as you say, there's been such a buzz and hype. And when I first made the decision to come on board, I didn't actually get to go down to Dumfries for a while. So the first time I went down there, and like you said, met Grub and met JT and just all the staff there, everybody in the rink, and everybody involved in that Sharks family. Meeting them for the first time was incredible, because I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. And there's just such a tight knit community feeling over there, and like you say, they have such a good knowledge about the game, and they seem to be doing things in the right direction. So it's obviously going to be pretty rewarding for them as well, that they're making this step up into the NHL, and they're so excited, and the town's excited. They're all buzzing about it. And yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a big learning curve. I obviously went to uni for marketing, but that was many moons ago. So
Yeah.
there's a few cobwebs
How
there,
much of
but
that was for hockey as well? You go, yeah, I went to
yeah,
school for that, but really I was there
yeah.
to play hockey. And
Well, I think most guys that go away to school on scholarship or whatever, go to uni, they say the same thing. They just join whatever program a majority of the hockey team is in. So I went into
yeah.
business, and I think the reason I went into business is because 75% of my team was in business. So I was like,
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
I ended up enjoying it and having a bit of a passion for it. But obviously I kind of went in blind. I was like, whatever is going to make my life easiest for playing hockey, because that's all I cared about at that
Yeah,
point in
of
time.
course.
But yeah, it's interesting to be on that side of the things, just trying to figure out how to, spread the word about the Sharks, and not just in Dumfries, but in the surrounding areas, and just kind of grow the game over there, and kind of put Solway on the map. So it's exciting. It's a lot of learning, but it's been a ton of fun so far.
It's just it's interesting to see that, because I mean I always coached as a player. I always coached the juniors and stuff, so I always got what was going on behind the scenes in that aspect. But it's maybe not until you take a little step back and you see what happens on like a game day, like the running of a game day, of what all the volunteers are doing. You got guys over there doing this, you got girls over there doing that. Someone's selling 50-50, someone's doing a shirt off the back, they try to sell puck, chuck a puck, they try to ram up sponsorship for next year. They do. We just turned up and like fucking bumped some bodies and drove the net a few times, and it was a dream. But there's so much hard work that goes on, like new sponsors, and shout out Hercules
Yeah.
Hockey. They've just jumped on board with you guys. They actually reached out to me. They're sending me a little bit of merch, so can't thank them enough for that. That was very kind. Um,
Mm.
how cool is it having like new brands that they only developed last year, 2022? They're coming in. They're putting their stamp on things. I saw their logo on the ice. The ice has been painted up there and done free, so it looks awesome. How cool is it to get new sponsors on board, make these new relationships, like business relationships?
Oh yeah, no, it's very cool. Yeah, Hercules has been awesome. Obviously, title sponsor. They're amazing people, and it's so cool. I think it's just so cool to see them be rewarded as well. Because like you say, they're pretty new, and they've obviously worked super hard to get to where they are, and to be coming in and you see the big logo on the ice and all that, and so they're buzzing about it, and it's just exciting to build those relationships and partnerships with different brands around Scotland and around the league, and no, it's fun. It's definitely, but like you say, it's definitely stuff. If you would have told me I would be doing this 3-4 years ago, I'd be completely blind to it all. And if anything, that's the biggest take I've had from it is just like how unappreciative I used to be
Yeah.
compared to what I am. Like I joke with my wife, like I used to be just the dumb, naive Canadian hockey player that would rock up and probably complain about something that
Yeah.
like, like, oh, my stick, like this is wrong, be high maintenance about stuff. And now I'm like, man, what a brat I used to be. And like
You're going to be
all
the
the work that goes
biggest
into,
low maintenance guy on the team next year, right?
yeah, exactly. Like just one roll of clear tape for the entire season, just try to make it last as long as I can. But no, that's exactly it. You just gain such an appreciation for how much goes into preparing for a season. And, obviously a unique situation that we're in here, not just preparing for a season, but preparing for kind of the unknown, a season in a different league and, just a whole different outlook. So it's, I definitely have a huge appreciation more so now. And apologies to any coaches or owners
Yeah.
or equipment managers that I would have rubbed the wrong way over the past years when I would have been the guy just rocking up totally blind to how much effort and work ethic put into preparing everything.
Yeah, mate, I had no idea. Start
Crazy.
doing my charity games and stuff because I do them
Oh
on
yeah,
my
I can bet. I
because I
bet.
do it on my own as well.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
to start, you got 48 players that you try to fucking organize. That's the worst bit because
Yeah.
players are dumb.
Hmm.
Like speaking to the sponsors
We
is
are.
fine, speaking to the fans is fine. Try and talk to the players. Some of them are just some of these young kids, man. Jeez, just like putting blood out of a stone. It's like talk to me, tell me some information. But then you get a solid appreciation of what really goes into it and how much like people in the UK, like the volunteers and stuff, we couldn't do this sport in the UK without the amount of people that we have volunteering, whether it be match night officials running the penalty box, goal judges, DJs, all these people they're doing it for the love. No one's getting paid for it.
Hmm.
And if they're getting paid, it's 20 quid for a pint after the game, maybe no one's
Yeah.
getting rich out of it. So without all these people, without all these volunteers, we'd really struggle to grow the sport in the UK. So it's good to see that we are growing the sport now with Solway joining the league. I wanted to ask you, what's your kind of knowledge on the National League? Have you ever seen any games while you've been over here at all, or are you going into this totally blind?
I mean, pretty much blind to be honest with you. I've known about the league obviously, and some of the young Brits that I played with had
Guys that go up
at
and
time.
down,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So I kind of had a little bit of knowledge, not a whole bunch, but after I've made this decision, I've obviously kind of clued in a little bit more, and um, I've started to pick up and learn a little bit, and just talking with other people around the league, you start to learn a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve even there, just with playing. It's going to be a little bit of a different style, a different pace, so it'll take a little bit to get used to, I'm sure. But I'm excited just to see the different teams and just to see the talent. It seems to be a league that's going in the right direction, though. You
everyone
see
can
some of
beat
the
everyone.
That's what I mean. It seems to be a very competitive league. Yeah, like you say, any team can beat anybody on any given night, it seems. And it seems there's a lot of like young talent that's sticking in the league versus, moving,
Yeah,
giving themselves a better opportunity to see some growth in their game at that level. And
comes
just
down
like
to ice
even
time, right?
yeah, exactly. Of course, they want to. Yeah, if you want to develop your game, you're gonna get that opportunity by being on the ice and being in competitive situations where you're able to actually influence the game and develop your skills and just be in those big game time situations. So I think that part's really exciting. And then you see some other names around the league that guys kind of I'd say similar situation myself age wise, like a Ferrara, like
Yeah,
Venus, like guys that are going down to play there, and obviously they're going for their own reasons. But I think it's just exciting. It just seems like there's a good talent pool in that league, and it should be really exciting. I'm anxious to actually start playing games and to see where
get after it.
everything. Yeah, exactly. So it's cool. It's been cool to learn a lot.
So you named two very good players there, Venus and Ferrara. And for me, they're not even in the top 10 of British talent in that league. So This
Yeah,
is
so
what
that
I
goes to show you
mean.
how much I know too.
No, but it's not even no, but it's not even that. It's we get talked about all the time, this National League or the EPL in years gone past, or the BNL, whatever. BNL, we had the Super League. EPL, we had
Right.
the birth of the Elite League, and the first 10 years of the Elite League going on at the same time. You touched on there, like players want to play. So there was many
Yeah,
guys that I played with, and there's many guys in that National League right now that can step up and play in the Elite League, talent wise, skill
of
wise,
course. Yeah.
strength wise, size wise, speed wise, whatever you want. They've got all the attributes. But guess what? They're a sparky or a plumber and a carpenter, and they're making 1,400 quid a week cash playing, working.
Yeah.
Why do they want to come to the Elite League and sit in the bench on Dundee at fucking £300 a week and freeze their ass off? They don't want to do that. Like,
No.
you have to give up your job. You have to dramatically reduce your hours of your job.
Uh,
So that's going to affect your long-term salary. I think unless we find a way of making sure, I mean, don't get me wrong, the imports aren't making tons of money in the Elite League either. No one's getting mega rich. But until we
no.
find a way where it's a sustainable living for the young Brits coming through the league, through the national, and can afford to jump up to the Elite League, where maybe they can put their career as an electrician on hold for 3, 5, 6 years because they're still getting
Right.
paid well enough within the Elite League. Was that
Yeah.
something you ever talked about as a team across, like whether you were in Guildford or Braehead or Glasgow, sorry, like wondering why maybe you weren't seeing some of these good Brits make that step? Was that ever talked about, discussed?
Yeah. I mean, I think you always kind of think about, I mean, I'm trying to think who players off the top of my head. You see, like, even like a Mac Howlett
Yeah,
who was, I mean, I played with him in Guildford, but, he was was he Dundee, I think, to start the
yeah,
season,
he
right?
did.
Yeah, Dundee. And then he went down to Leeds. And, I see those situations, and it's a tough one because I can see both sides of it. Like, obviously, as a competitive sports person, you always want to be playing at the highest level, pushing yourself to get better. But I think at a certain point, it's like, am I actually getting better? You know what I mean? Like you
That's
say,
a
if I'm
it's
if I'm
really
not
interesting
getting, like,
actually.
yeah, it's cool to be at the top league, but like, am I actually getting better if I'm you know, just a bookmark sitting on the bench and just
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? You're not getting the opportunities to really develop yourself. And
It's
sure,
a
you practice that.
great further question within that is because I've asked a lot of people this question and it's something that's not came up. Am I getting better? That's a
Yeah,
great question because I wonder how many of those guys, because they do want to step up, get better. I
of
wonder how many of
course.
those
Yeah,
guys look at themselves in the mirror and go, "Do you know what? Am I getting better, or am I just
yeah,
doing the
true.
same shit that I was doing 6 months ago and I've lost fucking 500 quid a week and I'm
Yeah,
playing less game time? Like,
yeah.
what's going on here?"
No, exactly. I think it probably comes down to, I mean, I've not been in a situation like that, obviously, because I came over as an import, but I think it probably comes down to a little bit of like pride too, and like just the ego aspect of things. Like, you want to always be at the best, pushing yourself. But then, yeah, it's like, is this really benefiting me? Aside from just like the financial part where you're giving up, like you say, like you're giving up your job and your hours to be there, and you're not really developing so much as a player. Whereas you could go down and,
Yeah,
okay, maybe your pride gets bruised a little bit because you're capable of playing at a higher level, but you go down and you have more fun. You're with your buddies. You're able to work that job. You're getting good minutes. Because when you're on that cusp, it's like you're sitting there not doing much, and then you go down and you're the man. Like, you're the guy that people are looking at you like, oh, this guy is going to score every night, or he's going to
yeah.
be a difference maker game in, game out. So you see that happen a lot. I can. It's funny being on both sides of it because, when I was in Glasgow, a guy like Stenton, like
Yeah,
Liam Stenton, I'm like, man, that guy's got so much potential. I think the world of him. He's such a talented young player. And I'm like, oh man, he could be an elite league player. He could be, I think, in my opinion, my biased opinion, I think he could be a stud at that level.
me too.
And so I'm like, and then when I was not sure what I was doing, I saw him sign with Solway, and I was like, I was like not disappointed because obviously I was excited for him to, it's hometown, and he's going to be the guy there. And then I made the decision to go to Solway, and I was like,
Follow
oh,
him
what a
down.
great
Yeah,
decision. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. What a good
I kind of
decision that
played both
was from
sides of
him
the
right
fence
there.
there. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. But
He's a good person to use as an example there because
exactly, he's a perfect example of that
he
for
could go and
sure.
play for 10 teams, in my opinion, in that elite league.
Yeah, for
But
sure, no doubt.
he's going to go log 35 minutes next year. And I PP, if I don't know,
Of
maybe
course.
maybe you guys go with a four forwards, five forwards on a PP. You're gonna be pretty
Yeah, we'll
dangerous.
see.
I'm obviously
Yeah.
being a forward and being on like PP units over the years. I always like the five forwards or maybe four and one, but still he's going to be in the conversation. Whereas
Of
he goes and
course.
signs for Sheffield Steelers, he's not in the conversation about any PP time. Like that doesn't even
No,
remotely come into the conversation. So the fact that he gets to go develop, he's still young.
that's what I mean. He's still so young. Yeah.
GB could be on the horizon for him if
Yeah.
he comes down, has a very good year. I'm sure
Yeah.
teams are still going to be keeping an eye on players like him. Another lad, Jordan Bresser, he's gone back to the clan.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the confidence he's shown when he came down and played for the Steel Dogs, he looked very, very good. He played a solid second line role, second PP unit, and he put points up. Very good. Would like to see how he does in Glasgow. I think
Yeah.
had you guys perhaps had what's the right word? Well, had got in the league already, I think he probably signed for you.
I see
That's
what you're
just,
saying. Yeah. Yeah.
but obviously, I think you guys they were umming and ahhing. Are they going to allow it? Yeah, they are. No, they're not. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think by that point he was like, "Well, I'm just going to sign for the
I got
clan
to make up my
because,
mind. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
got to make
For
my mind
sure.
up." But I would have liked to have seen him have one more year in the national. Players like that can come alongside yourselves
Yeah.
and improve whilst gaining valuable ice time all of the time. I wanna talk to you about your fellow imports this year. You've gone down the North American route, so there's going to be three Canadians on the roster. How cool is that for you? Obviously, the National League notoriously has been like for the last few, generally Euros. Last year, we started to bring more North Americans in. This year, it seems it's going to be very North American heavy in the league. We really hope you're enjoying this interview, but while we've got you here, don't forget to go check out our good friends at Hurricane e-bikes for all your latest and greatest in e-bike technology. Hurricane are right there leading the way at the top of the market. My personal favorite is the RS8 off-road bike. They obviously got another favorite of mine, the F200 20-inch fat boy, the fat bike. It is an absolute beast. That's not your not your thing. Maybe the H250 cruiser bike or even the M250 mountain bike. But hey, if you're around this weekend and you're at Basingstoke Car Fest over there in Laverstoke, I am assured that the whole Hurricane e-bike team are going to be there to facilitate your needs, whether it is purchasing a bike or if it's just maintaining your own bike, because they do offer pay-as-you-go, lifetime warranty, unlimited services, no service costs, no need to buy. You can spread it out. You can just rent and pay a monthly subscription fee, no interest costs, no long-term agreement, no maintenance cost. No worries at all. So if you're around about the area, go check them out at Carfest. If not, head to hurricane.bike and you'll get all the latest and greatest in e-bike technology. Um, I prefer it. Don't get me wrong. I love my Euro boys. I love my Euro boys, but the Canadian
Yeah.
style of play has always been the closest to the British game that we've ever had. What's it like for you having a fellow couple of Canadians on the roster?
Yeah. It's really exciting, man. It's that's probably the coolest part of this different role that I'm in is just being able to like talk to these guys and it's so nostalgic to think back on my time when I first came over to the UK at 25 or 26, whatever I was, because now I'm on the other side of those
You're
conversations.
the old guy now.
And yeah, exactly. I'm the old boy now. But no, it's just cool to like talk to these guys and just hear how genuinely excited they are and how passionate they are about the game, and they're so excited to come over here. And I've tried to be a good voice to a good voice of reason when they're asking questions. And I feel like I've been over in the UK now for this to be year 6, so I have a little bit of knowledge of how just little things, because obviously you come over from Canada the first time, there's a little bit of anxiety involved in it. You don't know, like it's everything's different, like everything's totally different than you're used to. And so I'm taking taking it upon myself to try to be somebody that they can lean on, who would be like, I was in your shoes at one point, so I know what it's going to be like trying to figure out a phone, trying to figure out Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
where you go grocery shopping, all those little things that you don't really think about until you're in that position where you go to a different country. And And obviously there's no language barrier. It's not like a
which is
culture
great.
shock. Yeah, which is really good.
Yeah.
Because I think the first time I would have went for play pro, I would have been in France. So that would have been kind of double whammy.
Just
You're over there, you don't know
sitting in the
anything.
locker room, like,
Yeah.
what's
Oh
going
man.
on?
Yeah, it was difficult for sure. But no, it's exciting. And obviously you know what kind of brand of of style play that those guys will have. So I think they're going to be, pretty impactful on our roster, and they'll do well in the league, I'm sure. It's just a matter of getting a little bit of getting comfortable in a new country, and just kind of seeing where they fit in and all that. And they seem super genuinely excited to come over though. So that part's really cool talking with them.
So looking at Nolan's stats, 3 years in the OHL, a year in the Q, then he goes and plays 4 years at U Sport at the University of Windsor. This is good hockey. Like,
I know.
this is no joke. I mean, don't get me wrong. His points in the O are very minimal. His points in the Q, again, minimal. We know U Sports isn't a massively high scoring league, but he picks up 11 points in his senior year in 25 games, which is, an improvement on the year before. I think people might be sleeping on this guy a little bit. I think he might do some damage here.
Yeah, it's I agree. Yeah, it's a hell of a hockey league. Like, you talk to anybody that plays in that league, it's hard to produce, and depending on what team you're on and what opportunities you're given. Because school is one of those tricky ones, and like, I can speak on it, my own experience. You go to uni and you kind of have an idea of what you're capable of doing, but then a lot of the times it comes down to where you get slotted in, what the coach thinks of your capabilities. And the hard part about that is you're there for 4 years.
Yeah,
So
you don't
you
have a
kind of
choice.
have to, you have no choice. So if the coach is like, oh, this guy's, third line grinder, it's going to take a lot of work to get him to convince him otherwise that you're capable of something different. So
To
a
let you
lot
have
of
some
times you
reps
see
on the
guys,
puck instead of just dumping it in. It's like, dude, I can handle this thing. It's all
yeah,
right. Like, I'm fine here.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. So I think just the fact that both Nolan and Olivier are that capable of playing at that high of a level of hockey, just goes to show the potential there. And it's funny, I was talking to Peaks about that. It's the pro game is always so different. You don't really know. Like, you see throughout your career, there's some guys that absolutely tear it up at school, and then they come play pro, and for whatever reason, it might not translate right away, or it might not translate ever, or they have to kind of adapt and play a different style. And then vice versa. Sometimes you'll see a guy who was in that third line role throughout university or school, or wherever they were playing, and then they go pro, and it's almost like, here's a clean slate. Here's an opportunity for me to, almost reinvent my style of play, or my role, I suppose. And they take it and they run with it. And the confidence is a scary thing.
Yeah.
They get a longer leash maybe, and then you start putting up numbers, and you're like, oh, you know what, I can do this. So I think both of those guys, Nolan and Olivia, are types of players that, you see a lot of potential there. And I think, they're good skaters and smart players, and play that Canadian brand of style. And I think it's the world's oyster. Like, when they come over, and it's a totally clean slate, new opportunities for them. So I'm excited to see what they do with it, for sure.
The player I'm most excited about on your roster, we had him on here just a couple of weeks back, is Mason Alderson Bidoff for anybody else.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had this kid as a junior when he was 15, 16. Ooh, boy, is he good? Is he good? Wow, he's good. And he's smart as shit. He's so
yeah,
smart on the puck. Like, even when he's not on the puck, he's one of them players that I love because he's doing stuff when he doesn't have the puck on his stick. The way
right.
he'll drive to create space. He'll come in late. He'll support. He's just in the right place. Obviously, this is his first kind of hurrah into pro, as well as the North American boys. He's bringing that North American edge and style. That's where he's been playing for the last few years. When I was talking to him on here, it sounds like he wants to run some bodies over as well as put the
Yeah,
puck in the net. Honestly, I think you guys have got a gem there, and it might be the signing of the off season from any club, in my opinion.
yeah. You know what? It's not the first time I've heard that. There's seems to be a lot of high praise for Mason. And I mean, I saw like his highlight video, and I listened to a little bit of him talking with you, and he just seemed like such a good kid. And he seems
Yeah.
like he's just very grateful for an opportunity to, like, come in somewhere and improve himself. And obviously, I watched this video, his tape, and like you say, he just seems like he's got a very good hockey IQ and knows where to go, knows where the puck's going to be, and seems like he's got a big frame. He knows how to
Yeah, he's
use
a
it.
unit now.
No, that's that's always an important thing at the professional level, is just having those two things is amazing. If you can think your way around the rink, and your body's capable of handling those situations, being in front of the net, and protecting the puck and all that. I think no, I think he's going to be a key signing for us, and I think we're all very excited that he chose to join our
Yeah,
squad.
so it's a big signing. So obviously, a question I love to ask the imports on here. What was your first experience like walking in? Because obviously you've never played with Brits before. You get to Guildford, the British boys are there. Bit of a different mentality, loads of banter. What was it like playing with the British boys for the few years that you did in the elite league?
Yeah, no, it was a really cool experience. I remember just like I'd never even been to the UK before, so the first time I came over, um, I just remember thinking, like, in my head, the way I envisioned it was just like stuff you just see on like television or the movies. Like, I'm thinking it's gonna be like Harry Potter or something, and I mean, it wasn't far off though. When I came into Guildford, it's like you see all the brick buildings and all, like it just like I was like, wow, this is crazy. It's just totally different than North America. Um, and then yeah, like you see, I think in Guildford that first year we had like a barbecue kind of meet and greet with all the guys, and it was pretty unique. There's a few like University of Alberta guys that had known each other, but aside from that, all the North American guys didn't really have much knowledge of one another, other than playing against each other, of course. But I don't think there was a lot of pre-relationships heading into that season. And then yeah, you meet the British guys, and it just I think it took like halfway through that first year for me to understand the banter. Or I mean, I still
Well,
probably don't understand it. And now I'm in Scotland, so I'm like even more screwed because it's like a whole different
oh, it's completely different, yeah.
genre of banter. So I'm still learning, but yeah, I just
Excuse my
remember here.
language here, kiddies, but Scotland's the only place in the world where you can be called a good cunt. He's like, yeah, he's a good cunt. Like, it's like, what?
Yeah,
It's like, what did he just say? It's like, no, it's
yeah,
fine.
they throw that.
That means good. Yeah, North America's like, what?
Yeah,
And I was like, no, it's not. He's not being offensive. Me in
no, it's
Glasgow,
a
that's like
compliment.
you're the top boy in Glasgow. If
Yeah,
someone's giving you that. Looking at the Brits that year, yeah, Liam, our boy Liam Stewart, a couple of former
yeah,
teammates of mine, Jeremy London, Ben Campbell,
yeah,
Kev
Jazz.
Phillips. I mean, as coming over to the UK and getting stuck with a bunch of Brits, those four beauties are right up there in the ones that like to have fun. And funnily enough, you look at Jez and look at Ben. They stepped up from the EPL when Guildford went. You look at
Yeah.
the shape both of those boys were in. They looked after themselves. They like to have
Oh
fun,
yeah.
but they was always in good shape. They was always ready to
Yeah.
compete. Did you was you surprised by maybe the talent of British players? Because obviously
Yeah,
not
for
knowing what
sure.
to expect.
No, 100%. Yeah, I was. And like you say, I think as far as coming over and being with, a group of Brits on your team, I don't think it gets better than that for your first year and first experience at it. They were all so good, and they were also just really good at helping out the stupid Canadian imports that come in and don't know their ass from their elbow about what's going on. So those guys were really good at kind of holding your hand, and here's the Tesco's, here's this, you go to phone plan. Those guys were awesome at that. Talk about like just being professional too, like Jez Lundin especially. He was still probably out of all the guys I played with one of the best pros. Like he was just the way he treated himself and treated each practice and all that. And Kev Phillips, Campbell, all those guys, like we're so good at just being good pros, and that's something you don't really know what to expect when you come over from North America for the first time. Because you're like, how is British hockey good? Like, is it like it's a little bit of an unknown. And I came over and I was very very impressed with the way they treated the game and the respect they had for the game. And Liam Stewart too was
Great
like,
guy.
such a great guy, unreal dressing room guy. Everybody, I don't know
Oh
anybody
yeah.
that has a bad word to say about Liam Stewart. And he was also, I was just surprised, like just how like raw talent he had. Like he was
Oh
just
yeah.
like very talented player. He skate like the wind. He was strong on the puck, had a great shot. He
He
ticked
went
all
through
his
the
boxes. It
WHL
was
though, right? So
I know that's what I mean. You could tell he had some experience in North America playing at a high level for sure. Just you could see it in his game, and just all those guys were just good people. That was the big thing that I remember. It just made you feel so welcome coming in as a new guy, and you're a little bit anxious coming over. You don't really know, know your new teammates yet and your surroundings, and they were all just incredible at making you feel welcomed.
Right, without putting words in your mouth, because this might be, in my opinion, because it's very biased, but have you seen a player have a bigger glow up? Gonna get down with the kids now. That's what I think. That's what they call it. I think they call it a
Oh,
glow up.
yeah,
Then your second year teammate Josh Waller.
yeah.
Woo,
No,
he's
I
nasty
mean,
right now.
yeah, he's so good. I'm just like I'm so happy for him. Because yeah, like I guess it was my second year he came in.
Yeah,
I was just watching him in practice. I was like, holy shit, this kid's like
skates so good.
incredible, incredibly so smooth. His hands are so good, and he just like his skill sets off the charts. And I remember that year, I was like, oh, I kind of want to like take this guy under my wing and like he'll like show him the ropes kind of thing because you could see the potential was there. And in games, obviously like any young player, it takes a while to like translate it into games and develop that hockey sense because in practice, there's you could be a player that could do all those things, pull the puck through your legs, and you got making these great plays, and then you put in a game situation, it's a different story. So I'm just so happy to see the way his career's progressed, and even playing against him last year, I was like kind of blown away. Like he's taken so many big steps in his game, and I think he's going to just continue to do that. He's still young. He's going to continue to do that as the years go on, and I think he's probably going to have a year here where he like puts up scary numbers. I think, and he's going to be one of those Brits that is right on par with imports in the league, in my opinion.
I totally agree. But selfishly, so obviously Waller's a family friend, like his brother and my brother are
Yeah.
best boys. So
Okay. Yeah.
I've known him since like day dot. But he is the one Brit that I want to go abroad. I want him to go test himself in Europe.
True.
I want it
Yeah.
like
True.
skating wise. There's not many
Yeah.
Brits out there that can skate like a Swede or a Finn or like these big smooth skating.
He's capable of it for sure.
Oh, damn, that boy can skate.
Yeah, he can fly around there for sure. No, I agree. I know what you mean. It's tough because obviously I'd like to see him continue progress in the elite league,
So with the elite league.
but for him selfishly, I yeah, of course, exactly. They'd love to keep a talent like that around the league, but um yeah, selfishly for him, it would be nice to see him go. I mean, I have no idea what he has planned, but yeah, I know what you mean. It would be cool to see him test his abilities in a different league somewhere else in Europe, of course.
So obviously you came in on your first year. You put up respectable points, 81 points in 55 games. Not bad at all. And then the second year again, pretty much a point a game guy again. How nice was it being able to come in, slot into that roster, and immediately make an offensive impact?
Yeah, it was definitely a pretty special year. It was funny though because I just it was one of those seasons you have zero expectations because you come over, and I think that actually ended up benefiting me is having no expectations is because the year prior I had a decent season in the coast, and then I came over and it was actually kind of full circle. A similar situation to here being in Solway, moving up to a new league into the unknown. That would have been Guildford's first year moving up into the
Yeah.
IHL with a roster of guys that I didn't really know. I knew one other player on the team because I played with him in uni, but yeah, it was more so about me just experiencing a new league and having fun with it. And we got off to a pretty good start. I had personal success pretty early doors, and then you just kind of run with it. And then partway through the year, you're like, oh my god, like the team's actually we're doing pretty well
We're
and
doing all
doing
right
better than
here,
people
yeah.
anticipated. And I'm like, I'm kind of doing well myself here. Numbers are looking good. I do think we all in Guildford that first year benefited from being just totally unknown. I think a lot of teams didn't maybe take us as seriously as they should have because they're like, oh, who are these guys that came up from a league? Bunch of CIS college guys and no name guys we haven't really heard of. And then, we gelled so well together as a team. And I think it really translated on the ice, Paul Dixon and Milos, like they did such a good job of just bringing in like good kids that like wanted to work hard, no egos. There was everybody just had good attitudes and got along well and liked to go out and have a fun Monday off, go into
Monday
London,
fun day, baby.
shake it up a bit. And I think that it just, yeah, like I say, it translated on the ice. You could see we just like all kind of went to war for each other and kind of embraced that role of being the underdogs. Like nobody really expected much of us, but we were like, whatever, like we'll just see what we could do this year. So that was, I mean, that was such a fun season for me. And still the relationships that I built that year and the rest of those years in Guildford, I still keep in contact with so many of those guys, and just some very fond memories in my career for sure in Guildford.
How much credit does the Elite League owe Paul Dixon for opening up this CIS and U Sports window? Because it didn't exist before. Like,
No,
we were not
it's
seeing kids
crazy.
coming out of uni in Canada. That was fucking unheard of. And he was like, I'm going to sign 8 of them. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously, like half a team.
and
No, I know,
everybody was a stud. And then everyone was
I
like,
know.
"Oh, okay, we can sign guys from this league. This is the real deal." And
Yeah,
he opened that to pretty much every club in the league.
for sure. No, I agree. It's crazy because like I think you're kind of naive to it being from Canada because obviously you grow up and you know how good that level of hockey is.
Yeah,
But like you say, the league just hadn't really used it as a I guess like a pool to extract talent from beforehand. So Paul definitely deserves a hell of a lot of credit for what he did there. He found a hidden gem there in that
oh,
league, bringing guys over. But the one thing with Paul is, I mean, I have such a good relationship with him, and he was so good to me in my time in Guildford. And the one thing that I will say about him is I've never like he's as far as coaches go, he's so good at not just recruiting good players, but he put such an emphasis on the character
yeah,
aspect of things. Like if there's a guy, who has crazy numbers in the coast or wherever it is, and he's like, but he hears, might have some off ice issues, might have an attitude problem, this and that, or the other thing, versus a guy who might like have not as great numbers, but here he's like just a beauty and a great
just
guy
a
in the
good
dressing
team
room.
guy. Yeah,
He just knows like Paul has that knowledge, and I think he's just really smart about being like, you know what, I'll take this guy
yeah,
because he'll have potential to be some, to progress as he plays his professional game. But sometimes you can't teach that character aspect. You can't teach a guy to be a good teammate or a good dressing room guy or
yeah.
whatever. That's something that you're kind of just have those leadership qualities. And yeah, Digger was just like so good at sniffing those guys out and just like bringing them in. And there's so many guys even that you played with in Guildford that probably you didn't anticipate were going to be, kind of studs in the elite league. And they just came over and felt comfortable and were good teammates and worked their asses off. And then they became, really, really good players in the elite league for sure.
Well, that the first year you played with two D-men who I thought were exceptional. They put up exceptional numbers. Jesse Craig and Cali Akkard.
Yeah.
Boy, those boys could play on the power play a little bit, couldn't they? Oof,
Yeah. Yeah.
they were good.
That was so much fun. That first year. Yeah, and it just like I said before, it's just you don't have any expectations. You're not really sure what to expect. And obviously you see the guys in training every day, and you're like, wow, these boys can flat out play. Jesse Craig, one of the best leaders that I've played for. And just he's a type that just leads by example. He just works so hard every day. Like he's truly one of those guys that like you hear the phrase like I'll play like every game like it's your last, or like training, like
Yeah.
he wears that on his
Oh
sleeve.
yeah.
Like he would be like I actually used to hate him in practice because he'd be like
Battling too
battle
hard.
drill and like just like go so hard. I'm like, dude, like we're on the same team. We have a game this week. Like relax. But he was like, that was just ingrained in him, and he was
Just
so
had
good at
one
that.
compete
And
level and it was there.
oh, just it's like, yeah. So it was good because it set the bar for everybody else on the team. And we're like, oh shit, okay, this guy's doing this, and he's our captain. Then you
You
kind of
maybe
got to
don't want
follow
that on
suit.
Tuesday after Monday Fun Day in Guildford, in
Yeah,
London.
exactly.
Like, so, oh, dude, come on. I was at a Leaf
Yeah,
yesterday. I'm
exactly. You're
a
feeling,
little bit sore in
yeah,
there. Did you
feeling
boys
a bit
go up?
tender.
Did you boys check out the Leaf and stuff when you're in London?
Yeah, we I think I don't know which year it would have been. We did it a few years probably. We had like our
Yeah.
Christmas party there.
Oh,
So
okay,
we'd
nice.
have like we'd kind of not rent it out, but we'd get like, some some
Back tables there.
pictures and some wings and,
Yeah,
a
perfect.
little bit of a taste of home. And I think all the Brits loved it too. They
Yeah.
thought it was hilarious because it's just so stereotypical
Oh, so
Canadian,
stereotypical. Yeah.
just pints of just pictures of
Moose
lager
head and
and
love it.
yeah, exactly. And chicken wings on the table, and they got all the sports going on. It's just so purebred, stereotypical Canadian.
Bang smack
But
in the middle of Covent Garden there.
yeah, exactly. So no, it was yeah, we did that a few times. I think we did do that as a Christmas party a couple of times. It was a riot, as you can imagine.
What else did you do to keep yourself entertained down in Surrey when you weren't on the ice? You boys golfing or checking out like
Yeah,
other cities around or
yeah, yeah. The first year, honestly, we went to London so often.
yeah,
Like the first season we were there, it was like London every
yeah,
day off. And then I think by my second year there, I was like, okay, well, one, my wallet couldn't handle it anymore,
yeah.
and two, I was like just sick of it. I'm like, there's too many people in London. This is
Oh,
crazy.
it's
Like
crazy.
the luxury of it wore off. But the first year, you can imagine how much fun it was because it's
Oh
like
yeah,
all these Canadian guys that hadn't really been there before, and it's like London, like one of the coolest
yeah.
big city like happening places going on in the UK. So we were like every Monday we're just right on the train, just let's go in and
Have some
have
fun.
a good time, check things out, and so many good places to eat and just different things to see. So that was the first year. I'd say that was took up a big majority of our free time going to London and checking stuff out. I don't know what else I would have really done for free time. My first the vehicles is actually funny. The vehicles we had in Guildford were all stick, and I had never learned how to drive stick before. So my first year, I got one of the fans. Yeah,
Just
I didn't
bouncing
even
along the
try,
car
man.
park. Oh really?
Yeah, I didn't even try. So and then so I got a bike off of one of the fans actually gave me a bike. So I biked everywhere that
Yeah.
first year, which actually was a lot of fun. I just bike everywhere, go to
Keep you
practice
fit,
on the
right?
bike. Yeah, it actually probably helped me. And then I learned how to drive. I think it was my third season there because that's when I would have first met my wife now. So we did long distance that year. And it was funny because Cruz Reddick was like, so when's Roxy coming over? And I was like, oh, she's coming over for like, I think it would have been October or something. She came over and he was like, so you're gonna go pick her up, right? And I was like, dude, like, I can't drive. Like,
Gonna
I
go
don't
up
know
there
how
on
to
a push
drive.
bike. Here's a spare
Yeah.
helmet. Let's go.
And Cruz, though, being the good guy he is, he was like, no, he's like, I'm not letting you do that. He's like, you gotta be a good man here and drive to the airport and pick her up. So he gave me lessons. So
Oh,
all the
nice.
credit to Cruz. We would be in the car park after practice, after training, and he'd be letting me wreck his car basically because I
Yes.
was
I mean, Guildford
stop and
car
go.
park's not an easy car park to learn to drive in. There's bollards
No,
and
I know.
pillars and
No,
stuff everywhere.
yeah, I know. It just threw me right in the deep end. So yeah, he taught me how to drive and nah, but we just had so much fun. All those years at Guildford, it was just such a good camaraderie throughout the locker room. Like I don't think that we ever had like a bad guy on the team that you were like didn't get along with or didn't
That's
fit in.
great.
And yeah, like I said, that's credit to the recruiting that Digger and all those guys did for sure.
So obviously you had a little break. You went to Germany. We're going to come back to Germany in a second, but then it was all systems go. The elite leagues fired back up after COVID. Was it always going to be Guildford that you came back to, or were you maybe looking
Yeah, for
elsewhere? But
sure.
just Guildford.
Yeah, it was 100% going to be Guildford because actually when that COVID year happened, I had I had at the very end of the year I had signed a contract for 2 more
Right.
years to go back to
Okay.
Guildford. So then obviously it got canceled that year, and I was in a position where I was like, I don't want to take a full year off. I'm not going to do anything else anyways. And my wife was down. Thankfully, she was like, let's go travel somewhere. Let's go see something different. So I was like, okay, this would be a cool opportunity to play at a different league. So I went to Germany. Um, that was interesting, but I was just grateful for the opportunity to
Yeah.
keep playing. And it was a good experience all in all. It was a fun place to live. But yeah, so then I kind of honored that second year of my
Yeah.
contract to go to Guildford, and that was always the plan. Even when I had told Paul and ownership that I was going to go to Germany, it was the understanding was I'll go to Germany, but then once that season's done, I'll be back in the elite league with Guildford. So yeah, that was always the plan.
Was there any surprise for you seeing them finish second in the league last year, or could you feel from being a part of it over the last few years that, you know what, they're really building something here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was a little surprised to see how well they did. I knew they're always going to put together a good team. They're so good at recruiting, and it's just such a fun place to play. And Paul does a great job with it. But I was like
You're allowed
that
to say you're
last year.
surprised. Everybody was surprised, but like
Oh,
everybody.
everybody was surprised at how well they
Mad.
did. I think they just got off to such a good start and they just never looked back. And I think that was a little bit of a difference from years prior that we had in Guildford, is they just kept going.
No
That
injuries
last
helped
season,
too, right?
yeah. So
No
that
major
last
ones.
season, yeah, yeah, for sure. That last season that I would have played in Guildford, I think at one point we were in first, like in November, and we were
Yeah.
doing really, really well. And I think around Christmas time we hit just a skid and we just couldn't win a game. Like we just
Was
were
that
losing games.
18?
Like,
2-18
huh?
or something? Was it like two and
Yeah,
18 or something? It was
we
pretty
lost
pretty
12
ugly for a
straight.
while.
We lost
Yeah.
12 straight for a while. It was dark times, dark times at the Spectrum. But
That's the
it
worst
was
time to go to the rink when you're on a skid like that and you got to go.
oh, it was
Practice
tough. And
sucks.
especially
Road trips
it
suck.
was around holidays too. So it's like you're excited, obviously Christmas and family time, but you're just like,
Yeah, family coming over and it's like, hey, bud, can you mix in a fucking win, please? I'm just flying all
yeah,
the way over from
100%.
Canada. You guys have just lost
I
four
know.
straight. Come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that was the difference. Is I think maybe Guildford had learned from, past mistakes where you kind of let your foot off the gas and they just kept pushing and they just didn't look back really. And, obviously Ferguson did a good job. He's a good leader for them. I think he's like the only guy that really from that core group, my first few years, that's still there. So kudos to him.
Yeah, I think he's after the. I
He's
think he's chasing the testimonial.
yeah, I know. He's
Yeah,
aging like fine wine. He is. He's a great guy, and he did a good job, I think, of getting everybody on board. He's got a good work ethic, similar to like a Jesse Craig, just works so hard and guys just kind of follow suit. Um, but yeah, I think there's big expectations from this year now. They definitely set the bar pretty high
oh
after
yeah,
that last season. It was a shame. It was a shame though that they weren't able to get. They were so close last year, and I would have loved to
yeah,
see them get a trophy somewhere in the mix because
yeah.
it's like after all the things they did, and they didn't make it through that first round playoffs. I was like, but I think, to be fair, I think the accomplishments they made throughout the year, and obviously, as you know, it's a long season. It's hard to keep up
Yeah.
that pace. I think they probably just fizzled a little bit at the end and burnt out before they could go on a special playoff run as well.
That and Belfast brought 17 new guys in after losing back to back to Manchester. They went, nope, that's enough of that. Let's go. Brung
I
new
know.
bodies in. How was it playing against Belfast last year? Because obviously they win the Grand Slam. They're phenomenally talented. What was it
Yeah.
like as an opposing player going and playing against them at like night in, night out?
Yeah, it was, I mean, not gonna lie, at certain times there when Glasgow was at its, when we were at the lowest of our lows, when we were, obviously off ice stuff going on behind the scenes with, whatever. And
Yeah,
then on top of that, we were just short bodies. Like we were like, we, had, I think at one point we had like two forwards playing D, and then we had like nine actual lines of forwards, and it was like you can't do that. Like you can't
no,
do that against any team in the elite league, let alone a Belfast Giants who's just licking their chops, waiting for you to get off that ferry, knowing that you're
it's
playing with a
dummy. Yeah,
depleted lineup.
yeah,
It's like 5 minutes into the game, it's over. Like it's so
yeah.
disheartening. Actually, you're like, what are you going to do? It's going to take a miracle to
You
get through
can't
a
do
game when
anything when you're that short.
you can't do anything about it. Sure,
Not
even
over a
if you're,
period, maybe one game. You might win
yeah, yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah.
but to do that for like
No,
a few weeks in a row, that's so tough on the body.
yeah, no, it was like months. Like it was like it went on forever. Guys were just so banged up. Guys are sick and run down because they're just playing way more minutes than they're used to. And we just didn't have any, or playing in a position they're not used to. We got like Dyson Stevenson playing D. One of our other forwards, that Shabbat, was playing D. It was like it was just insane. It was comical almost at some points. But so yeah, those days were like I just didn't want to play Belfast because I'm like, this is just a waste of time
It's a
because they're
nightmare.
like it's just a nightmare. Yeah, we almost want to see if we could borrow some of their players to play
Yeah, can
so
we
they
just
make
borrow
it
your
even.
fourth
Because like
line, like even up?
seriously,
the
seriously. But
the playoffs you had them though.
that's what I was about
You
to
held them
say.
real tight in the
Yeah,
playoffs. You looked very good in that series.
yeah. I think that's what I was gonna say. I think when the playoffs
Oh, we
rolled
lost.
around, it was like we had just been through so much. Are you good?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just
I
lost the
think when
connection.
we yeah, I think it lagged there for a second. It's all good.
Yeah.
But I think when playoffs rolled around, I think it kind of was a mixture of things. We had some new bodies come in, so we kind of had some energy, and we had like a couple breaks, like the international breaks. You're feeling a little bit rejuvenated a little bit, and we had started doing better, winning some games, getting some confidence. And I think you just been through so much shit that season. Playoffs rolled around, and we're like, it'd be hilarious if we just
Yeah,
upset Belfast.
yeah.
So we were like, everybody was on board. Like we actually dialed it in, and I still think it was like so close. Like it was
It was
like
so
a
good.
few bounces, and obviously we Ty Taylor would have been playing for us, our goalie that time, and he didn't play a lot during the season because obviously John Muse took out a majority of the game. So I mean, credit to him, he stood on his head and did what he could. But it's one of those scenarios you're like, I wonder if it could have been different if he had X, Y, and Z happen. But yeah, it was bittersweet because you're so close, and it would have been just such a fairy tale story to like after the crazy season that we had to upset a team like the Belfast Giants would have been. I don't know, they never would have lived it down.
I know that would have been one of the biggest upsets in Elite League history had
For
because
sure.
they looked like they were supposed to go win the Grand Slam.
Oh, for
But
sure.
by the
There was
time the
no
league
doubt
was
about it.
done, by the time the cup was done, they're going into the
Yeah,
playoffs. Everybody's
yeah.
going, well, anything less than a Grand Slam for them is going to be not very good. And
Well, it'd be a
what,
letdown.
yeah, what was it like playing for Malcolm Cameron? Because I've heard, other than being a walking, talking, fucking perfect for a podcast is like post game interviews and that. But I imagine when you're playing for him, it grinds on you a little bit. And from talking to Peaks and talking to another couple of guys that played for him, it didn't sound like the best coach to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time. I don't want to badmouth the guys because there are guys that play for him and do like the way he coaches and they get on well. I just kind of knew early days that it wasn't going to be a fit for the style of game that I play and the style of coach he is very much so an old school guy. Likes the crash and bang hockey. Likes the old like just he's got this in his head of how he wants the game played. And unfortunately, I was not that type of player, so I just knew right away we weren't gonna probably see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. But it was hard because throughout your career, like you're always going to play for a coach that you don't see eye to eye with. It's going to
Yeah,
happen one way or the other.
yeah,
And I was kind of frustrated just with the fact I'm like, okay, like I'm not a rookie kid here where it's like I can get pushed around by a coach. 31, I feel like I've established myself in the league. Like I should be able to just deal with this. Um, and I felt like I did my best to make it work, but yeah, there was the first few games, like even playing like Challenge Cup. We played a lot of Challenge Cup games at the beginning of the season.
yeah.
And I look back at it now and I'm like, oh man, my numbers are garbage in the Challenge Cup. And then, but I look at it though, and I was like, I was playing like 10 minutes a night, 11 minutes
Oh,
a night. Like
really?
I was not playing very much. I was still on the power play and stuff, but you could see very early on that he had his boys that he was going to ride. And if
Yeah,
you were one of those boys, then
that was it.
have fun. So, it was a
Well, I mean,
shame
that's
though,
probably
because
why he
I
got his
was,
P45 and was back on the plane on the way home before the season finished. So
yeah, well, I mean, I can't believe it took that long. I don't think I've ever seen
neither could anybody.
0-17 start and somebody keep their job that long.
It was
It was
wild.
pretty wild, but
Especially like obviously you said about going through the 12 games there with Digger and Guildford where he
yeah,
lost. But Digger's been there for 15 years. He's earned his stripes.
that's what I mean.
He's allowed a little
Yeah,
blip. As a new coach, very rare that you'll see a
yeah,
new coach come in and go 0-17 and still keep his job.
yeah. It was.
Especially
Yeah, I
with
don't know
all the
what.
off ice fiasco that was going on at the same time. It made
I
sense for
know.
them just to come in and go, right,
Yeah,
get rid of that, get rid of this, get rid of that. Let's go fresh. And when you
for
did, you guys
sure.
started winning some games, right? I think Tyson stepped up and no, who stepped in?
Well, Steven Dixon was like our
Dicker.
interim head
Yeah.
coach, but then it was kind of more of an internal thing. Like he
Group
was on
effort.
paper, and then Dyson Stevenson
Dyson.
kind of took over as like the mastermind. I'd say he was doing the practices and doing video and all that stuff. And then we also had like it kind of actually helped a little bit because we had like Sean Bouton had he broke his collarbone, I think it was. Yeah, it was his collarbone. So he was done for like the year. So he was an older guy too. So he kind of just was like stayed and was an assistant coach in some
Yeah.
aspects, I suppose. So it was it was a unique year, man. Oh my God. It's funny because I always try to remind like a lot of the younger guys that we had, like Gary Hayden, it's some young first year pro type players. And I'd be like, I hope you guys don't think this is like an accurate reflection of how
Yeah, it's
pro
not all
hockey is
like
meant to
this.
be. Like this is not normal. This is very not normal. Like this is like my ninth, 10th year of pro hockey, and this is the first time this ever happened. So like don't let this deter you from playing in the elite league because this is a very rare, unique situation. But you know what? It ended up being a lot of fun. Because we just kind of it was the wild, wild west. We kind of manned ourselves. Dyson did a pretty good job, and as well as Dixon, of reining in it as best they could and making it a professional atmosphere to come to the rink every day. They definitely did a good job at that, but in a lot of ways, it was just like it was just such a random, weird situation to be in,
Yeah.
where it's like everybody's you don't have a coach in a sense, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you do have a coach, but he's also playing on your line sometimes,
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like
Reggie
it
Dunlop.
was bizarre, but it ended up being a lot of fun. And because at that point, what else can you do but just
The
have
boys
fun
just
with
pulled
it?
together, right, and battle for each other.
Exactly. It made us a lot stronger, a lot more of a tight group. And, we had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun off the ice.
What a spot as well, Glasgow. Love it.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, there's a reason. Like when regardless of if I was going to be back in Glasgow or what my plans were with hockey moving forward, me and my wife were like, we just fell in love with it right away. We're like, I think we could see ourselves living here for the foreseeable future. Anyways, it's
Yeah.
just a perfect spot.
Oh, well, I'm from just down the road in Irvine, so Glasgow is like my favorite city. I love it. And
Yeah, it's good.
the people are good and the banter's good. The food's fried. The pints cheap. Food's fried,
Yeah,
pints are cheap. The people are
yeah,
sound. Like, what's not to love?
yeah. What else
Is
could you ask for?
obviously you've been in the Elite League a while. Any other favorite spots for maybe a few pops after a game? Belfast normally seems to be the major one.
Yeah, hard to compete with Belfast, I'd say. It was always you'd always get pretty giddy when you'd look on the schedule and see you'd have like a Friday, Saturday in
Stay over.
Belfast with a flight the next day on Sunday or whatever. Those were the best. Those
Yeah,
first few years we had a couple of those because you just know you're like, especially obviously Belfast is a good team, so it's like you can't expect to beat both those games, but like if you could win one of them or like
yeah,
make them respectful, and then you really go out and have a fun night. I think
yeah.
it was actually right before COVID ended our season. We had a game there where I think we ended up beating them in overtime on that Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And so you can imagine that night was
What a
that
time.
was a fun one. Yeah, that was a fun one. At I forget where the place, Filthy McNasty's or whatever. They have a few good spots there, a few
Yeah.
good watering holes. So those were always fun ones. I don't know because it's always tough. You don't really have a lot of overnight stays.
Nah.
Like you just on the bus and back. Um, that first year in Guildford was the travel was atrocious because that's also when Edinburgh still would have had a team in the league. So we had Edinburgh, Fife, Dundee, and Glasgow. So four Scottish trips. And like you say, like 10 hours up, play, 10 hours back. So as painful as they were at the time, now I look back on them and I think like some of those were like hilarious bus rides
Oh
back
yeah.
because you go there, you know, beat Fife or beat whatever, have a big game, and then you get 10 hours back and,
Party bus.
just like, yeah, exactly. There's only one way to make a 10-hour bus ride
Yeah,
go much
literally.
faster. Yeah.
Um, what was it? What's the game of choice for you on the bus? You a schnapps guy? You playing some poker? What sort of card
I'm
games we
not
got?
I'm not
Not a
sorry
card
to
guy.
disappoint, especially as an older guy, I should be into the cards. I've never
Being there
been
taking
a
all the
big
young guys' money.
I know I should have been. Yeah, no, I never really got into the cards. I don't know. I was pretty standard bus guy. Just Netflix, get the iPad out, watch
Yeah,
whatever show I'm into. Try to read a book every once in a while, look smart, or
mix in a
pretend to read the
book.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nah. Yeah.
it's something we talked about with a couple of the Solway folks that we've had on. You just touched on it there, so we might as well dive right into it. How do you think some of these young guys are going to deal with the travel? They've not experienced it before. I mean, there's the longest trip 6 hours, so it's not going to be horrific. but equally,
Hmm.
you boys are going to be bussing it and potentially flying and traveling, which Solway haven't had to deal with before. They've had to deal with teams in the north because obviously they were playing in the NIHL one north, so they've had two and a half, 3 hour trips. But now there's going to be 6 down to Bristol, Swindon, Slough for the bees games. So there's going to be some
Yeah.
decent length trips. How are you going to help the guys like deal with that and make sure they're, because by the way, if Solway buses are anything like they were last year, you want to see a party bus after those boys win a game. Woo! They
Yeah.
go hard, but how do you keep them loose on the way down to these long trips and get them ready for
Yeah.
the game?
I mean, I don't think we're naive to it. I think it's obviously going to be something that it's going to be trial and error. You're not going to, there's no way to anticipate or like get prepared for long bus trips. You just have to do it and see how the body feels. But I do think the good thing that we have going for us is just like our ownership group and myself and Peacock, like we've been through it before. Like we know like those long trips and like the importance of just little things, like getting meals on the bus and
Yeah,
having the waters, all those little things that make your life easier, whatever it is, like getting a decent bus to begin with to make sure that
I
you
mean
have
that's
a,
a big one.
of course, yeah, you can't
Yeah.
be uh, you can't be on like a cheese wagon on the way up, just bouncing around. You got to have something that's a little bit respectful, where you can get a sleep at least, or lay down some yoga mats or whatever it is, and catch some shut eye. But I do anticipate that it's going to take a couple times before guys start getting in a rhythm of it. But it's also not going to be something that is going to be used as an excuse, because we realize that it's all the other teams are going to have to do it coming to us too. It's
Yeah.
There's no escaping it, so everybody's going to be having to get used to a little bit longer travel. And like you say, though, it's nothing, I don't think it's that substantial. Maybe I'm the wrong person to talk to about it, because I've just
Canadian
been
boy.
used to such terrible travel in my career. Like I hear 6.5 hours and I'm like, oh, that's run of the mill, that's nothing crazy, because I'm so used to the long trips
At
to
10 hours
Guildford or
plus. Yeah.
exactly. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. And guys figure it out on their own. They get in their own routines and systems of what works. Like you say, if it's playing cards or you get some shows, and you make the time go by pretty fast. So I don't anticipate it's going to be a big issue. I think it'll just be one of those things you just have to learn as you go, for sure.
So obviously we're getting to the nitty gritty end of the summer now. How long do you boys have until you start preseason training, getting on the ice, getting together?
Well, so as of now, like actually the last couple of weeks I've been skating, I've gone down there and I've been on the ice, and it hasn't been like official training sessions, but Martin's out there and kind of going through going through the repetitions, and it's been nice to kind of get to know some of who my teammates are going to be and see them on the ice and see them in action a little bit. I think as August drags on here near the end, we'll probably get more actual training sessions in. And then we have September 1st. We're kind of doing like a launch event. I'm sure John Strange,
Yeah.
Showbiz Strange, when he was on, I'm
Show
sure
this
he touched
strange. I
on it.
like that. I'm gonna change his name in my phone to
Yeah,
that.
you should. Me and Peaks have been calling him that. But the thing is, I think he likes it too
Oh,
much.
he
So I don't
loves
think
it.
it's
Oh
actually,
yeah.
yeah,
No.
it's not like a dig at him, because I think he genuinely embraces that nickname. So we'll keep going with that. But yeah, I'm sure he touched on that. We got a launch event type thing on the 1st of September, so it'll be a good opportunity to see all the guys together. And do like maybe some drills and a little bit of an inter squad kind of scrimmage, get the fans out, get kind of the community excited, because like you say, there's been such a buzz around it, and I think it'll be the first opportunity for fans to see new faces and see how the roster's shaping up on the ice. And even though we'll probably just do like a scrimmage or something, I
Yeah,
anticipate
just an open
you
scrimmage.
get,
Let the
and
fans
you
come
also
in.
you get how it is. Guys have it in their competitive nature, where it's like, oh, I want to show my teammates that I can do this and that. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a good healthy competitive way to kind of kick things off, and then from there on in, it's going to be hit the ground running with intense training sessions, and then lead up to those preseason matches and go from there. So I'm buzzing to get things going on that aspect.
So the meet the fans is that gonna? So you're gonna do your scrimmage, and then what is it after? Like beers and a barbecue, or like
Yeah,
so that sort of
essentially,
thing?
yeah, meet the players, put some names to faces, and get to know one another. And I'm excited. I'm really excited about that part, just because even though I've been down there a handful of times and I've got to know just even like the rink staff, people around the rink, it's just everybody is so warm there, and you can tell they just like they love the community, they love the team. So I'm excited to get down there and just meet everybody else that I haven't met yet, and just see the excitement from the fan base for sure. See it live.
So from a personal one, obviously 4,000 and counting are having a charity game up there next June.
Right.
The way that obviously I've been dealing through Showbiz Strange himself, but like the feedback that I'm getting from him, from the rink, they've been excellent at making sure that we're going to have ice time for the charity game. They're looking
Yeah.
after us really well. And I'm not sure if you saw the video the other day, but next year's charity game, we're going to be raising money to put on, instead of it going to charity, we're going to be raising money to reinvest back into junior hockey. So we're going to be putting tournaments on up and down the
Unreal.
country.
Yeah.
And I sent one message to Solway: ice time secured for next summer for a tournament for the kids, no problem. Like, what do you need? How can we
I
help?
know.
Like the entire community there get it. I seem to think like
For sure.
it's not just one guy pulling on the rope. It seems, Karen from reception, the guy that fills the vending
Exactly.
machines, like everybody's in and everybody's excited. So I can't thank them enough for the help they've given
Sure.
the podcast. It's awesome. A couple more little finishing questions here before we let you go enjoy your birthday. What would you like to do away from the rink up in Scotland there? Because obviously you've got some of the best golf courses on the planet. You've got some of the best scenery up on the west coast there that anyone's ever likely to see, unless you're a BC boy. If you're out BC way, you probably reckon. Yeah, it's very familiar. To be honest, some of the places up on that west coast of Scotland is very much like British Columbia.
For sure, you can see it.
Where have you been to check out in Scotland while you've been living there?
So we have a dog. So we have a mini Australian Shepherd. So she loves it. So most of our activities that we do revolve around her. It's kind of embarrassing, but
it's not. I've got a dog as well. I get it.
She kind of runs the show. So we like to try to incorporate different things we can do traveling for her, and go on hikes and just check out, like you say, the scenery. We've been to, I'm trying to think here. Went to Oban this year.
Yeah,
That was pretty
my
cool.
brother's there right now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's up there right now. Beautiful.
That was a pretty cool spot. It was pretty special because I think it was during one of those breaks we had last season. So my parents were actually down here
awesome.
visiting. So went with Roxy and the dog and my parents, and we went to Oban and checked that out. It was really cool. And we're both big seafood people, so it's nice when you go to these little port towns and you just get like unreal fish and chips or whatever it is. Like they just got such good seafood options. Where else have I been? I have some family. I have a cousin that lives in Edinburgh. He's a professor there, so I like to go down there every once in a while.
So she went to real school. They went to real school then, yeah. Like they're professor.
Yeah. I joke with him all the time because he's like a linguistics professor, so he like studies language, and he's got like he can speak like 7 fluent languages, and I'm like,
wow,
whatever Dunbar gene that was not passed down to me the slightest. I didn't get even the smallest fraction of that. So, but yeah, I like to go over and see him and his family. He's got a 15-year-old son. So I like to go over there and hang out with them. Edinburgh is beautiful, obviously. Where else have I been? Oh, well, we went to Dunbar because you just naturally have to do that. That'd be prime if you didn't do that. So been to Dunbar. Actually, funny story about Dunbar is the first time I went to go, I was with my parents, and we got on the train. And we were just chatting, catching up or whatever. And then I looked up and I was like, I swear to God, like this train was not meant to, because you have to go to like Glasgow to Edinburgh and then Edinburgh to Dunbar. But I completely overshot the stop. And at that point, when you overshoot the Dunbar stop, it just keeps going. Yeah. So we went straight all the way to Newcastle, like kind of impromptu without plan. But it ended up being hilarious because Big Red, the equipment guy here in Glasgow, he lives in Newcastle, and he just so happened to be in Newcastle at that time. So he kind of played host for us on our random accidental trip to Newcastle, which ended
That's
up being
another good spot though, eh? Newcastle.
What spot man, it's so cool. It was the best mistake I made. missing that stop to Dunbar because obviously there's a lot more going on in Newcastle than there is in the little town of Dunbar. But it was wicked, man. Newcastle is incredible. I'd love to go back actually.
Yeah, I've only ever really been once on a drinking thing. I'd like to go back and actually explore the city where
Yeah,
you can actually take a bit of time and go around. I mean, I've one of my best school friends. He was from there, moved down here as soon as he was old
yeah,
enough, and boom, he's gone straight back up there. He's got his boy there at every Newcastle United game. Like the whole
yeah,
town, the whole city supports United. It's crazy. They're
yeah.
all invested. Have you was you lucky enough to maybe catch an Old Firm game or anything while you was up in Glasgow? Bit of Rangers
No,
Celtic, no. Tickets
no,
like
I
gold dust.
haven't. I haven't, and I'm honestly like I'm a little bit intimidated by it because when I was in Guildford, though, obviously we had like that relationship with Peter Check,
Yeah,
and
what a
so he
guy.
would, oh, legend. He would hook the boys up with tickets every once in a while, go see those games, Arsenal or Chelsea, whatever. So I saw a few of those, and I was like, wow, like it's crazy atmosphere. And then, but when I came here to Glasgow and just hearing them talk about the football culture here, and like, yeah,
Yeah, it's different.
obviously the big divide with Celtics and Rangers, I'm like almost nervous to even go. I'm sure at some point I will go because I think I've heard it's incredible atmosphere and it'd be a cool thing to see. But I haven't got into it. As much as I'd have liked to. It's also tough during the season to
Yeah,
to
it's tough.
get opportunities to go watch, but I'm sure at some point I'll go check it out and see it live and just try to stay out of trouble.
I'm sure Showbiz must have a connection. He's a well connected man up there in
Yeah,
Glasgow.
no, this he's pretty good at having connections, that's for sure.
Right, last one from me. It's a two-parter. First of
Yeah.
all, what are your personal goals for the year? And secondly, what are the team goals and what constitutes like a good season for Solway in their first year in the national?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think as far as like personal goals, I just honestly like I want to just do whatever I can. I know it's a cliche answer, but I want to do whatever I can to like just help the team grow in a first year. Like obviously I want to continue to play my role as I do as being someone who can produce offensively and whatnot. But so I obviously want to have a successful year in that sense. But I do think I'm in a unique position now, like being older and stepping down a league. I think I'm in a position where I'd like to really help other players too. Like younger guys, because you even see it like in the times I've been up skating in the last couple of weeks. Like there's a lot of guys that have raw ability
Yeah,
and talent, and I want to put some of my experience and my knowledge that I've gained over past 9 years playing pro to good use where I can help a player and with whatever situation they're in or whatever, just trying to help them with their game and help them develop. And that's something that I really want to put an emphasis on this year is just helping other guys develop and grow into the players that they're capable of being. And yeah, as far as the team goes, it's a unique situation where I'm going to be doing both sides of things, obviously doing the hockey operations and playing. So I think the best way to make my life easy is just having success on the ice
yeah.
because
Just put
that takes takes care of itself on the off ice aspect of things. So obviously, I mean, it's so easy to say, "Oh, I would like to have this. We'd like to have a trophy, finish here, finish that." I think I just want to see the team just grow in the right direction throughout the season, and obviously get in the postseason and have a good playoffs and just see where you land up, where you end up. Sorry. Um, obviously you always want hardware and
yeah.
com- that competitive nature in me will never go away. I'm sure I'm still going to be that little kid that wants to be the best and do the best. So, um, yeah, I think there are some high expectations and high hopes for the team. Um, I don't want to put a number on it. We have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
finish here or do this or win this, but I do think that that's something that's in the back of everyone's mind is winning. So and obviously Solway, you look at their history, like what they've done in the past with where they were at, that's all they know.
Yeah.
So regardless of moving up a league, it's going to be I think it'll be an eye opener for a lot of those boys the first time you lose a game because they're gonna be
Yeah,
pissed
it's been a
off
while,
and
yeah. It's been a hot
yeah,
minute.
you know what I mean? You're gonna be pissed off and so I think it'll be good. It'll be a good mix of, having guys from higher leagues coming down and imports and this, and then guys that have just been a part of Solway from day one that have seen that success over the season. So it's going to be a good combination of things. And I think it'll be a winning environment for the team overall.
Awesome. I know I said that was the last question, but you said something there that I've got to
Yeah.
ask. You're an import. What do you make of our fucking playoff structure over here? You battle for 54 games and then you play Saturday, Sunday, and your fucking playoffs are over. You're like, what just
I
happened?
know. I know. It's insane. I will say though, like my first few years, I was like pissed off. I'm like, it'd be so, it's just doesn't make any sense why it's so short. Like I'd love to see a little bit lengthier. But I will say the older that I've got, I'm like, it's okay. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
okay. Especially when you're like playing like last year we played Belfast the first round.
If you
It's
have to
like
play them
I'd much
7
rather,
times.
yeah, if you play them 7 times, you're in trouble. You know, like it's like maybe we could sneak out a miracle story here if it's 2 games, but if it's like if we had to do game 7, it'd be like you might as well not show up for the last 3 games. It's gonna be a nightmare. But it is odd. You know what? It's funny that you asked that though, because I haven't really thought about that in a long time. I think I've just kind of come
You're just in it, right?
accustomed to it. Yeah, I'm just in it now, so I haven't really thought about that in a while. But it is super odd. It'll be funny to see like the new boys on our team this year, the imports come over, and when we explain that to them, you're like, because I remember being in that position, being like, what the hell is like a challenge cup, like aggregate, like what, like just never heard of these things before, like aggregate and ice hockey, and so like it's interesting, but it seems to be working for them. I don't know. I don't know if it's something they'll have to revisit.
Well, it's a
In
money
years
maker,
to
isn't it? They
yeah,
make
of
around
course.
about £1 million, give or take, from that Nottingham finals weekend.
Of course,
And
yeah.
obviously the National League, they make substantially less, but they still make good money from the Coventry weekend.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do understand it from a business, but from a
Yeah.
player, I
It's
think it
kind of a
was
shame, yeah,
3 or 5 game series here or there with
for
it get
sure.
it get the plums pumping. And do you know what? Like you said, boys can suck travel up. Like we would if we have to, we'll suck it
Yeah.
up. If it means we get
Yeah.
a 3 game or a 5 game, it'd be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like you go through a whole season, like you say, 54, all that work, and it's like, yeah, okay, maybe it's a little bit more travel and a little bit more abuse on the body doing 5 game series or 3 game series. But at that point, it's like it's all over here soon, anyways. So you might as well
Yeah.
just go for it, like you leave it all out there. So it doesn't really make a difference, I don't think.
Well, this has been a fun interview. I look forward to meeting you in person. I'm going to come up to your
For
games
sure,
on
Nicky. Yeah,
the 30th September and 1st of October. Guys, we're actually looking for a sponsor for that trip. So if you do want to sponsor us, it's going to be vlog style all over YouTube. Couple of quick reminders. Dundee Stars fans, we have your new man, Sean Allen, joining the show next week. Anyone seen the promo video, the Slapshot promo from Dundee Stars TV? Amazing work. So make sure you check that out. And also, we have the Wayne Gretzky of British hockey, Mr. Tony Hand, MBE. He's going to be joining me Wednesday. So look out for that interview coming out next week. And we will see you all again next week for a couple of more episodes. Peace.